Welcome back to the module 6. Let's talk about Glue Job and Glue Studio. So let's get started. Before I continue on the topic, I want to share that these topics you are going through, they are in a sequence, and the labs associated with the topics are also in the sequence, and they are dependent on each other. That means if you want to complete the lab, you have to start from the beginning and then go till the end. And similarly, these topics are also interconnected to each other, so it is advisable that you go through these topics in the sequence to get maximum benefit out of this course. With that, let's get started. So what exactly is AWS Glue Job? Well, AWS Glue Job is a ETL job which you can use to move data from one source to another source. Like you can create a Glue job which can talk to one of the data sources registered with your data platform and move that data, extract that data, do transformation as you need, and then load that data at the target, which could be another data store or data location in your platform, in your data platform. So basically, Glue Job is an ETL job which is used to extract, transform, and load data from one data store to another data store in your data platform. Glue Job is serverless. That means you don't need to provision any kind of servers or resources in order to run the job. You simply create your job, configure your job with the kind of capacity you want to run with, and you run the job without provisioning any kind of infrastructure for running the job. So, what different types of jobs you can create with the Glue? Primarily, you can create three types of job. You can create Spark job, and Spark job use Apache Spark platform to run the job. You can also use Spark streaming job, and these kind of job you create to handle the streaming data. So suppose you have a scenario where you are getting streaming data from, say, your social media platforms or from your IoT platforms, and that streaming data you want to actually transform and load as they come. In that case, you might want to create a Spark streaming job which can handle the streaming data ingestion, transform the way you want to transform, and then load at the destination you want to load. You can also create a third type of Glue job using Python shell script, where you can use Python modules, Python libraries to create your ETL job. So primarily, you can create these three different types of job in Glue. So when you, in fact, when we do the lab, we are going to create one PySpark job. So when you create the job, one question comes in the mind that, okay, I created a job. Now, can I run it in parallel? Because sometimes people do create a very generic job, and then though that generic job they parameterize, and then that job they might want to run more than one instance at the same time to do ETL operations. So the answer is yes, you can run your ETL Glue jobs in parallel, and for that you have to configure a parameter, something called maximum concurrency. And suppose if you define maximum concurrency equal to 4, which means that you can run, if you create a Glue job with maximum concurrency equal to 4, that means you can run that Glue job, 4 instances of that Glue job at the same time for your ETL operation. Another kind of questions which people come across is, okay, so I can use PySpark, I can use Python, I have my own set of libraries, can I, which I use, and I want to use those external libraries with my Glue job. Can I do that? Again, the answer is yes. If you have Python library which you want to use with PySpark or Python shell type Glue job, then in that case you can put those libraries into an S3 bucket, and then you can configure your Glue job to use those external libraries use those modules or the functions written in those libraries into your Glue job. I have captured some of these topics into some of the other videos in detail, so you might want to go to my channel and look into my videos talking about concurrency as well as the external libraries. So, moving on. When we are building the Glue job, again the questions come across. Okay, fair enough. I want to create a Glue job which can do incremental data processing. That means if I run the Glue job today, and then suppose I run the Glue job tomorrow, if some new data has come between today and tomorrow, or some data has been modified between today and tomorrow, I want my Glue job to only process the modified data or the new data, not already processed old data. Can I do that? Again, the answer is yes. You can do that using Job Bookmark. So Glue Job does provide a feature called Job Bookmark, which can be used to avoid any kind of reprocessing of your data. If you're using a JDBC kind of data source or data store, then your job bookmark could be defined using primary key or combination of columns. So whenever these combination of columns or primary key get a new data, then only those data are processed, not the old data which is already processed. In case of Amazon S3, you can use combination of columns to define the job bookmark, or you can also use object modification timestamp. That means since the last time the job run, whatever objects had been modified or their timestamp is newer, those objects are processed, those files are processed, rest are ignored. So Job Bookmark is a very important feature in AWS Glue Job, which can be used to ensure that data is not reprocessed. Again, I have another video in my channel which talks about this particular use case in quite in detail with some hands-on lab and some other details around Job Bookmark. Please look into my channel and you can learn about Job Bookmark again in much greater detail. Now, when you create a Glue job, actually you can run it in three ways. You can run it on demand, which you can do it from the AWS Console, or you can also make API call or CLI call to start the Glue job. You can also schedule the Glue job. So if you want your Glue job to run based on a schedule at certain frequency, you can configure that as a part of your Glue job configuration. And most important, your Glue job can also run from the pipeline or workflow, because many times what happens is that you might want to orchestrate more than one Glue job, more than one Glue job in order to complete a pipeline. So for instance, you want to ingest your data from your source system to the raw stage of your data platform, and then from raw you want to convert into cleansed data, and then from cleansed you want to convert into curated data so that it is ready for consumption. All those things you can create using pipeline, and such pipeline can run more than one Glue job or even other entities like crawlers in order to complete your end-to-end execution of your data transformation. So most of the time you will find that people actually run Glue job as a part of the pipeline, because generally one job is not sufficient to get your job done. Generally you want to have one job for data ingestion, one job for data cleansing, and one job for converting your data into consumable state. Okay, so job can also run as a part of a pipeline or workflow, and such pipeline or workflow you can create using a step function or Glue Glue workflow. In fact, Glue workflow I'm going to cover in the next module, and step function based workflow I have covered in the module 8 or the last module, where I covered some of the advanced topics. So what is Glue Studio? So Glue Studio is a feature which came some time back. In fact, it's there for now more than 1 year. It's not some time back. And Glue Studio is a Glue Job authoring tool. That means if you want to write a Glue job, you can use Glue Studio to write the Glue job. It provides actually a very easy to use graphical interface where you can run your job, you can create your job, you can run your job, and also you can monitor your job. There are actually two methods you can use to actually run your job. One is a drag and drop method where actually you can use a visual interface to drag and drop your ETL operations and then configure those ETL operations to complete your task. Other way is that you can also write Python code, and using either Spark or Python shell, you can write such code for the Glue job. Both of these methods are available as a part of the Glue Studio. Now, when you are trying to use Glue Studio and you want to use drag and drop approach, then there are three set of actions or activities which are available. So you have extraction activities, you have got transformation activities, and you have got load activities. Extraction activities are nodes are available to extract data from the source. So they do the extraction part of the ETL, and you can read data. You can see in the example here from JDBC endpoints, from S3, from Kinesis, Kafka, from Redshift, DynamoDB. You can talk to various different data sources to read the data from there. Then you have transform activity where you actually transform your data so that the data can be then returned to the target location. And for transformation, you can actually sometimes you want to drop certain fields, you want to select certain field, you want to join couple data frames together, you want to filter data, aggregate data. All those things you can do as a part of your transformation. You can also use custom transformation where actually you can write your own custom code to do transformation of your data. And again, I have another nice video talking about using custom transformation with Glue Studio. So if you want to know particularly about custom transformation, please check my channel for Glue Studio for custom transformation, and then you can learn in greater detail about that. Now, the third set of activities you can do is load, where actually once you have extracted, transformed, now you want to write your data at the target, and for that you can use load nodes or load activities. And you can see again in the example over here, you can write your data to the S3 bucket, you can write data to Redshift, you can write your data to the relational database. So all those locations you can write your data to. So when you are trying to build a Glue job in a drag and drop mode, you can use these out-of-box nodes or activities available as a part of Glue Studio to configure your Glue job. So it's time to let's get our hands dirty and learn a bit about creating a Glue job using Glue Studio. In this Glue job, we are going to move data from Amazon RDS to S3. Again, this lab depends on the previous lab, because in the previous lab we have configured S3 and our RDS instances. We have some tables over there. Now we are simply going to use the same resources. So if you have directly come to lab over here, I recommend that to go through the previous lab before you come over here. But if you have been following the lab from the lab 1 onwards, then you are good to go, and we can now start doing the lab together. So let's go to the AWS console. Oops. Okay, let's go to the AWS console. So you can see here in the AWS console, I have the logged in as AWS user, which this user has got administrative privilege on my AWS console. I am working in the Ireland region, and if you are following me with the lab for the lab, actually I recommend you to use the Ireland region so that there is no mismatch in terms of what services or features are available for AWS. So first thing, let's try to understand what we're trying to build here. So we'll go to the lake formation. And if you go to leg formation, and if I show you the tables, you can see here that we have cataloged 3 tables over here. This Postgres public employees table is coming from one of the Postgres databases, actually, Postgres databases running under RDS service. Then we have this customers and orders tables which are coming from actually S3 bucket. So this we have already done. So what we are going to do here for our Glue job is that we are going to read data from the employees table. And then we will do a simple transformation. We will try to select certain fields from that table. And with that transformation, then we'll write our data back to the S3 bucket. And then we'll also catalog the data. So that's what we are going to do as a part of the Glue job today in the lab. So for that, first we need to create an IEM role, which I can use to run my Glue job. So far we created an IEM role for the crawler and we used that with the crawler. This time we are going to create an IEM role for our Glue job. So let's go to the IEM management console. So we go to the IEM management console and then there we are going to create a role for the Glue job. So we go to the roles. And in roles, actually you go to, you simply create a role. And then this role we give a name, Dojo job role. So well, that will come later. Let's select the AWS service first. So Glue is the service for which we want to create the role. Go to next. And here we are going to select AWS Glue service role. So this is a service role provided by AWS, and this role it has most of the permission I need to run my Glue job. So I simply provide AWS Glue service role. Then I go to the tags. For now, I'm avoiding the tag. Then I simply provide this Glue job, so this role a name. I'll call it Dojo _ job _ role. So very simple, I'm creating a Dojo job role for AWS Glue service, and this has permission AWS Glue service role. Let's create the role. So while the role gets created, and once the role gets created, we need to do one more thing. So let's open the job role here, Dojo job role. Now this job role has AWS Glue service role permission, but this AWS Glue service role permission does not give permission on the S3 bucket we are working on. And this problem I also discussed during when we are creating the job for role for the crawler, actually, and that this service role has permission on S3 bucket, but on a S3 bucket starting with certain names only, or having certain names only. What we want to do here is to give some additional permission to this job, this role, so that the role also has permission on the S3 bucket we are working on. And for that purpose, actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how you can add an inline policy over here to add more permission. Now, if you, I already told you that you have to download some lab document, lab documents for doing this lab, and the link to the lab documents is also provided in the description box below. If you open those lab documents, you will find a zip file, and then if you unzip it, you will find a folder structure like this. And in this folder structure, actually, you have to go to number 6 folder structure, where you see a JSON documents which tells what additional policy we have to assign to this particular role to give permission to our S3 bucket. If you open that particular file, actually the file looks something like this. So in our case, like in my case, when I was doing this lab with you, actually I have created an S3 bucket called Dojo Glue Lake 01. And actually this is the S3 bucket I'm using with my lake formation to store my S3 based data. If you are following lab with me, you must have created this bucket with different name. So what you need to do, once you open this particular JSON file, you need to replace this S3 bucket with the name you have created in your environment. So the S3 bucket you are using in your environment, you need to provide that bucket name over here. That's the one change you need to do. Rest everything remains the same. So you have to replace the bucket name here, and then also need to update your bucket name over here. And you can see here, all this policy does is that it gives you some get and put permission on these buckets. So let me do one thing. Let me copy this particular JSON document, and then I go back to my IEM policy, to my IEM role definition. I click on add inline policy, then I go to JSON, and I replace the JSON over here with the JSON we have. So here I simply replace. In my case, I'm simply doing the copy paste job, but in your case, you have to first replace the bucket name over here with the bucket name you are using, and then you simply can copy paste. So I did that, then I can review the policy. It already looks hopefully good. And then it needs a policy name, and I'll simply call it, say, Dojo Job Inline Policy. Yeah, I can give any name, but I gave this name here, and create policy. So now my IEM role for the job has got permission on the S3 bucket, which I'm using for my lake formation. So this is all good. Now my IEM role is ready, but it does not have permission on lake formation because I'm going to read data from that employees table. I have not yet given employees table permission to read data from. So we need to do that as a next step. So let's go to lake formation. Oops. Let's go to lake formation. And in lake formation, you can see here if you go to the left hand side, go to the tables. You can see this employees table. If I click on this employees table and simply say show my permissions, you can see here the crawler has got the permission because it's created the table, but this Dojo Glue role has not got any Dojo job role has not got any permission. So let's grant that permission. So click on the grant button over here. So we need to give permission to Dojo job role. So to Dojo job role, I want to give the permission. I will go for named data catalog, and this LF tags I'm covering in advanced topics in letter module. I select Dojo database as my database over here. Then I select employees as the table over here. And this role need to have select because it's going to read data from this employees table and then write to the target after transformation. So this role need to have the select permission. So it's pretty straightforward. You can see here I've selected the Dojo job role, IEM role, named catalog, this database, this table, and I'm simply saying select permission and then grant. So now my job has got my job IEM role has got permission to read data from S3 table. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to S3 buckets. I'm going to my lake formation bucket. And there I'm going to create a folder where I will write my employees table data. So for that I go to my I think this is the one. This is the bucket I created for our lab, and here I'm going to create one more folder, and this folder is employees. This folder we are going to use to write our data from our RDS table. So looks like we have everything in place. It's time to start writing our job. So for that, what we are going to do is that we are going to glue And then in Glue, we will open Glue Studio. So let's open the Glue Studio. So I click on Glue Studio over here. And then in Glue Studio, I want to create a new job. So I simply click on Jobs. And I want to create the glue job. Now I can create author glue job in many ways. I can write code. I can visualize with some standard source and target. But I'm going to start with a blank canvas over here. So I simply use blank canvas and create. So this is going to create a graph which I can use to configure my glue job. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to first read from the source. My source is actually a Postgres database table. So I go to my Postgres SQL. And if in fact, I remove this thing over here, so I get more space. And then if I simply configure this, oops, come on. Yeah. No node selected. I think what happened, I need to see that. Okay. Yeah, here we go. So I select my database. My database is DojoDB database, and my table is actually employees table. And once I select that, it is reading data from the catalog. I can see the output schema. It shows this table has got first name, last name created on an employee's number. Now I'm going to use, so this is my source or my extract part, then comes my transform part. Here I want to use this, I have so many transformations, out-of-box transformations over here, but I want to use the select field transformation. And here I want to simply select only first name and last name. That means I'm reading the full table from my database, but then I want to simply filter down on two columns, first name and last name, and you can see here my output schema changes. The data here onwards will be only first name and last name. So this is my transformation part. Now I'm going to do my target part. So target part, I am going to write this data back to S3. I simply click on S3 over here. Let's do the configuration. So in S3, I want to write data, say in CSV format. I want to keep it simple, CSV format, and then no compression type. And then my target location is, I can give my S3 bucket as a location here. So I can simply go to my Dojo Glue Data Lake, and I want to write it to the employees folder. So the folder I created earlier. And then I not only want to write the data, but I also want to catalog. I told you cataloging is very important because that makes your data discoverable and searchable. So I simply say I want to create a table, and this table will be created into a database DojoDB, and then table will be called employees. Okay. So it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to read data. So first my data extracted, then I'm simply doing a simple select transformation to select only two columns. And then I'm going to write to the S3 bucket. This is my format. I have no compression. This is my target location. And when I write my data target location, I also want to catalog that into my lake formation. And it will be cataloged using employees as a table name and in the database DojoDB. So it looks all good. Now I need to configure a few more things. So I go to job details over here. And before I go to job details, if you want to see the script or the code, you can click on the script over here and you can see the code generated behind. So you will come to know what's happening behind the scene when you configure those properties. Then you go to the job details. I want to give this job a nice name. So I'll simply say RDS to S3 job. So simple. Which IEM role, and we created an IEM role for this, so we can simply say dojo underscore job role. This is the same job role we created earlier, and we gave permission on the employees table. I want to use PySpark, Glue version 3, Python, language, and then everything I will keep default. I can configure job bookmark, which is already enabled. I just want to make number of retries 0, so that I don't want it to retry if fails. It fails, I want to know and fix myself then, rather than waiting for all the retries to happen. So I simply save this. So now my job is saved, and I'm good to run the job. So what we are going to do is that we are simply going to I'm simply going to click on the run button, and that will start execution of the job. So if I go to my runs tab over here, I can see that my job is running. So now I'm going to wait for this job to finish, and then I can show you the output of this job. So let's wait till the job finishes. Okay, so you can see the job has succeeded. So let's do first thing first. Let's see the monitoring of this job. So to learn about how is this job run, what kind of resources is used, you can click on the monitoring on the left hand side menu. And then if I, for instance, yeah, okay, looks like my data is not published yet. Okay, so we'll probably come back later to here. Or let me go back again. Hopefully this time, no. It's not there yet. So I'll come back to here later to see if the data it is published. If I go for one day, yeah, it's showing. Yeah, you can see that. Okay, I'm looking for the 1 day. So looks like I run many jobs over here today, but you can see here that it shows you the ETL jobs. So I run, and I run actually. Looks like I run 6 jobs today, and then 3 succeeded, 3 failed. If I go to those 3 succeeded, you can see here I must have tested this job earlier today, and you can see you can see yesterday I run my job just for testing purposes, and today also I run, and you can actually select a job, and you can see the details of the job. Actually, so it comes back here, how many workers, how many DPUs it used, how many minutes it run, and you can see, in fact, after some time, matrices also get populated, and you can see the matrices level detail for the job as well. So you can monitor your job over here for in terms of what kind of resources it is using. Now let's go back to lake formation, and I'm going to show you the output. So if I go to lake formation, I can show you a new table created by this particular job. So if I go to the left hand side, click on the tables, you can see here employees table has been created. If I click on this employees table, it shows you that it is data is stored at the employees folder. Remember the folder, it is in the CSV format, and then if I look at the schema, it has got just first name and last name. So you can see our job has succeeded, and it has the written data at the target location as we specified it to do. So that was the lab to see how you can use Glue Job to move data from RDS to S3. Similar kind of job you can write to move data from RDS to RDS, RDS to Redshift, Redshift to Redshift, Redshift to RDS. So any data source to any data source within lake formation, you can write job to move data, and you can do even more complex type of transformation. So that was about Glue Job and Glue Studio. See you again in the next module, where we are going to talk about Glue workflow and see how you can use Glue workflow to orchestrate more than one Glue jobs or Glue crawler to create your pipeline. So see you in the next module. Bye bye.